Good evening, my dear friends. Good morning, good afternoon, depend where you are. Once again, we have the great pleasure to welcome you all, and our dear Charles, dear Silvia, and dear Stevan that is on his way to join us. And you all are part of this wonderful virtual room. And together we can talk, we can discuss important themes that bring us light to our soul, isn't it? So now, before I carry on, I pass over to Silvia, your greetings, and Charles, and after that, we still can talk. Okay, Silvia?
Okay, hello, good evening, everyone. Always wonderful to be here with you once again. And today we're going to talk again about something important for us to discuss and how clear the understanding of Spiritism is about this issue that we're going to talk about. So, welcome, asking God's blessings upon each and every one of us. And looking forward to the talk today. So, boa tarde a todos, ou bom dia. Prazer estarmos juntos novamente, falando sobre um tema importante que o Espiritismo clarifica tão bem a importância de milagres. E prazer e que Jesus nos abençoe a todos nessa reunião. Okay.
Hello, bonjour à tous, bonsoir. Très heureux d'être à nouveau parmi vous ce soir pour parler des miracles. Et oui, on parle beaucoup de miracles, beaucoup de gens croient aux miracles, beaucoup de gens espèrent aux miracles. Mais qu'est-ce que le spiritisme pense des miracles? C'est ce qu'on va essayer de développer aujourd'hui. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Very happy to be here again with you all. Happy also for your participation, your reaction, your comments. And today we will talk about miracles. A lot of people still believe in miracles and are even wishing miracles. But what is position? What is does the Spiritist body of knowledge say us about the miracles? This is what we will try to develop a little bit today.
Thank you, Charles. Thank you, Silvia. And as Stevan usually starting making his introduction, while he is not here, I will read what he wrote for us. Okay? In the minds of the masses, a miracle implies the idea of an extranatural event. In the theological sense, it is a derogation from the laws of nature, whereby God manifests his power. One of the characteristics of the miracle itself is that it is inexplicable, which is why it is performed to the exclusion of natural laws. This idea is associated with it so much that if a miraculous fact finds an explanation, it is said that it is no longer a miracle, however frightening it may be. The Church's value to miracles is precisely their supernatural origin and the impossibility of being explained. Another character of the miracle is the usual, isolated, exceptional being. As soon as a phenomenon reproduces itself, whether spontaneously or voluntarily, it is subject to a law, and from then on, whether or not the law is known, there can be no more miracles. Far from expanding the domain of the supernatural, Spiritism restricts it to its extreme limits and takes away its last refuge. Suppose it is true that it makes us believe in the possibility of some facts. In that case, it is no less accurate. That, or on the other hand, it prevents belief in several others because it demonstrates what is possible in the field of spirituality, like science, in that of materiality, and what is not. However, as it does not fit the pretense of having said the last word or on anything, not even what is within fits the pretense of having said the last word on anything, not even what is within its competence. It does not present itself as an absolute regulator of the possible and leaves aside the knowledge reserved for the future. So, we start today with Charles. Charles, did Jesus perform miracles? Can you can you talk about, please?
Yes, of course, Elsa. Thank you for the question. I think Stevan, or what you read from Stevan, is already answering to it. The answer is clearly no. Jesus did not perform miracles. So it is maybe a little bit shocking. It may be shocking some people who are still believing in miracles. But clearly, I mean, if miracle is understood by extra-natural event, means things which are out or beyond of the natural laws. If miracle are understood as a derogation of the laws of nature, clearly the miracles are not existing. Why? The people believing in miracles are attempting to demonstrate the greatness of God through his ability to perform miracles. But when we think a little bit more deeper, we see that this in reality does not make sense. Because it's exactly what Kardec wrote on the cover page of the Genesis, Genesis, whose title is Genesis and Miracles According to Spiritism. So it's a book which has a full part only where Kardec is describing the miracles. On the cover page of that book, Kardec wrote, God proves his greatness and power by the immutability of the laws of nature and not by the suspension of these laws. Okay? Because if the laws of nature or the laws of God or the divine laws, which is the same thing, needs some derogation, needs some suspension, this implies that the laws of nature are not perfect. This means that what God has done, the laws of nature, are not perfect, thus implying that God is not perfect. Okay? So through this simple reasoning, we see that it makes no sense. And at the opposite, the greatness of God is proven by the perfection of the natural laws that do not need exceptions. So, in other words, miracles in this sense of the word do not exist. Okay? So, coming about Jesus, you asked me if Jesus did perform miracles. Okay, so the answer is clearly no. Okay, because there are a lot of phenomena which are reported in the gospel and which until now have been considered miraculous, but in reality they belong in their big majority in the order of psychic phenomena. That is, these phenomena that have the faculties and the attributes of the soul as their primary cause, and that up to now have been very, very poorly studied and investigated by mainstream science. Okay, but Spiritism, which is studying this psychic phenomenon, can bring some possible explanation of what is called miracles, okay? Because also as a very simple statements, a lot of times miracles of yesterday are explained by science later on, okay? When there was a thunderstorm, the prehistoric man was thinking it's a miracle, or the gods are not happy or whatever. The Greek mythology or wherever you see this type of things. Okay, but today, of course, the occurrence of the thunderstorm is very well explained and even in a certain measure predictable. Okay, not exactly how and when, but stormy weather as a general is predictable. Okay. So what we can see also by investigating these so-called miracles is that throughout history, a lot of similar phenomena have occurred in all time and among all cultures, wherever in the world. The reason being that since there are incarnate and discarnate souls, the same effects must have been produced through the same causes. Okay, so the miracles are not so exceptional as it is said usually. If we really look into the history, and even today, nowadays, such abnormal or extraordinary phenomenon are occurring. And there are, for instance, books which are a book which is called Remarkable Recovery in English. I don't remember yet anymore the name of the doctor who wrote it, but a lot of people with cancer, very severe cancer, already in the terminal states, of a sudden had a huge fever a night, and the next day they were well, they had no cancer anymore. And this happens. Remarkable recoveries happen, and they are studied and, how to say, established by medicine nowadays. And so you see that the same type of phenomenon are still occurring today, are repeating. Whilst another characteristic of miracles, as Stevan told it at the beginning, is that the phenomenon are not repeated many times. They are somehow unique or exceptional. Okay. So talking about Jesus, giving some examples, not to tell you too long. Jesus, why did Jesus perform so many remarkable actions that to the point that they were called miracles? This comes from the fact that Jesus was a high evolved spirit incarnated on earth. Welcome, Stevan.
Well, thank you. Now you can see me because Elsa said it's blank. Oh, keep going, keep it going. It's a wonderful listening you.
So Jesus was a high evolved spirit which incarnated on earth. Probably one of the highest or the highest even evolved spirit that ever incarnated on earth in order to. That is why 2000 years later we still talk so much about him, and that Christian religions is still the first religions throughout the world. Okay. And the superiority of Jesus over other humans was not linked to the particularities of his physical body, but to those of his spirit, which was high evolved, which dominated the matter completely, and that of his perispirit, we talked about it already, the spiritual body, which is the intermediate between the spirit and the physical body, which was drawn from the most quintessential, the purest portion of earthly fluids. Okay, and this is what gave Jesus all this strength to perform what is still today called miracle. So let's give just a couple of examples. So Jesus had second sight. He proved it in many occasions, and he had this second sight to a high degree. He could perceive, for instance, the fishes. His apostles did not manage to recover fish, and you just throw your nets that way, and they throw the net. They got a lot of fishes. Why? Because Jesus perceived this not with his physical eyes, but with through his second sight from the spirit. He also, was calling the apostles, this one, that one. He was recognizing them immediately. It was also this second sight faculty. He did a lot of predictions. He was reading the thoughts of the person to whom he was talking. He was reading the thoughts of the Pharisees, hypocritical Pharisees, and a lot of times in the Gospel you can read reading their thoughts. He told them and so on. So he had these faculties to read the thoughts. When you read the book 2,000 years ago, it's a romance by Emmanuel through mediumship of Chico Xavier. Elsa, I don't know if it's translated in English yet. It is. There you see Publius Lentulus, for instance, meeting Jesus. And of a sudden, Publius Lentulus got in panic. But how will I talk with him? Publius Lentulus was talking Latin, but not Aramaic, which was the language of Jesus. But when Jesus came, the communication was perfect and immediate, even without words, through telepathy, transmission of thoughts. It's another example of this second sight that Jesus had to this high degree. Okay. And he was immediately recognizing Publius Lentulus, telling him, "Hey, senator, why didn't you come with your clothes of senator? Why it would have been much better for you to show not to come hidden. I know why you came. You came because your daughter is very severely ill. I tell you that your daughter will recover, but not thanks to you, thanks to your wife, which is a very, very good person, And all this, Jesus had this sixth sense, the second sight, in a very high degree. And all this was then turned into these miracles. But in fact, simply a natural law, a natural faculty of Jesus, of Jesus' spirit and perispirit. Other examples, there was numerous cases of healing. The woman who touched his garment, for instance, and some fluid came out of me. Who touched me? And your face it was your salvation, and she was cured from a problem she had during a lot of years. Is an example. Blind person recovering sight. Paralytic also recovering their abilities,
The multiplication
curing
of the bread.
lepers, and so on. Stevan?
The multiplication of the bread.
Yes, this comes later. So these are the how to say, the healing cases, and which today we have still a lot of healings, very good healers here and there. You see, maybe not at the degree of Jesus, but at least we have the key to understand the phenomenon, and that is not miraculous. That is simply an application of the natural laws. Okay. He also liberated possessions. People who this was through his immense ascendancy and moral authority over the possessing or perturbating spirits. Okay, so they simply went away very quickly just by his presence. And he always told to all these people he was helping and assisting, go and don't start again with your sins. That something worse will not happen to you. Okay, so he was not only helping the person, but also giving the person the key in order to avoid fall back into the same trap, and giving the people the resources to be autonomous. And then other cases, for instance, are resurrections. Jairus' daughter, or the son of the widow from Nain, or Lazarus, the people which were at that time considered as dead. But we know perfectly today that sometimes people are in coma state or cataleptic states or other states, but they are almost now with no vital function anymore, but still alive. And Jesus, he had then this power to bring the people out of these coma states or cataleptic states. Okay, So it was not a resurrection. It was not someone which was dead and brought back to life, because this would be against the natural law. It was simply the vital function almost stopped, or how to say, a state which was very severe, but not dead, and Jesus could bring them back. Again, another miracle which brings and has an explanation. Then there are some other more strange things. For instance, Jesus was walking on the water. It's also an interesting one. And here there are two possible explanations. The first is that it was a tangible apparition of Jesus, so materialization. And the second is that maybe it was a case of levitation. Both phenomenon also observed a lot of times since. Also, two possible explanations for this explaining why Jesus was walking on water. Also, no need of miracle. The transfiguration of Jesus was also not a miracle, because transfiguration is happening still today from time to time with some persons and some mediums, which are also explained by the perispirit properties. Jesus also managed to calm a storm. So this is a little bit more difficult to explain, but still there can be either seeing the future that the storm would calm just after. So he was just announcing that, or maybe some other effects that still we have to investigate. Then you told it, Stevan, the wedding of Cana. Alors, here we have to be careful, because, for instance, the wedding of Cana is only in John. None of the three other evangelists talked about this. So maybe it's a story which is maybe not fully explained exactly as it happened, and that may be misunderstood. Also, with these problems of difficulties of languages and translation and whatever can happen, or happened for sure with the gospel. And the multiplication of loaves of bread or fishes is also another one that can be explained through different hypotheses. For instance, materialization, or how to say, the spirits are able to dematerialize some objects, or maybe a fish or a bread, and to rematerialize it somewhere else. This can be one explanation for the phenomenon, amongst others. But I think I talked too much already. So definitively, Elsa, the answer to this question, did Jesus perform miracle, is no. And the spirits are not anymore believing on miracles, and are also not asking God to make exceptions of the natural laws for themselves, because they know it doesn't work. They know only if, as long as we behave in harmony with the laws of nature, this will help us and be the key of our happiness. Thanks a lot for your attention.
Thanks, Charles. Thank you very much. We do have a question here from Guilherme Diaz. Are miracles somehow related to mediumship?
They can be, but not mandatorily. Okay, so spirits can help in the process, but Jesus, for instance, when he was healing someone, maybe it was only with his power, his fluids, and without having the assistance of other discarnated spirits.
Yeah.
So it can be related to mediumship, but not mandatorily.
Great, thank you. And also we have another question here from Camille Brilla. Although explainable, are these miracles still needing God's permission to work?
Of course, yes. God's permission, or natural law's permission, and how to say, the people who for that, for instance, Jesus helped or brought out of possession or gave the sight back or whatever, were persons who had these difficulties as an expiation, as a consequence of mistakes they have made in previous lives, and they were at that moment mature to understand and to change for in how to say, in a long-term way, their state of mind in order to not repeat the same mistakes. And this is why what we call the so-called God's permission. I mean, when the person is ready to receive this help. And yes, Camille, it's a way of saying nothing can happen without God's permission.
I
Thank
think
you,
that's
Charles.
a nice complement what Charles is saying in the book Heaven and Hell. In my book is page 153, second paragraph to page 153. It says clearly that by enlightening us about the properties of the fluids, the agents and means of action for the invisible world, and comprising one of the forces and powers of nature, Spiritism provides us the key to innumerable phenomena that have been unexplainable and which are inexplicable by any other means, and which in the past used it to be regarded as a miracles. That is in the book Heaven and Hell. So there's a lot of information regarding miracles that very nice indeed.
Well, yes.
Yes, my book is page 153, Charles, if you have yours, a second paragraph. That for us is something that's very important because a miracle has no rational explanation. Spirit phenomena, on the other hand, may be explained in a most rational manner. Thus, they are not miracles, Charles pointed very well, but rather simple effects that have their reason for being included among general laws. Of course, general laws come from God. God, our creator. Everything under God's permission can be done, but not a miracle, something that per se. But when I have time to talk later on, I can give an example that happened 40 years ago as a miracle for my eyes, but someone explained to me. Very nice indeed. Thank you.
And Elsa was talking about remarkable recoveries. So I found the author back. It's Karel Hirschberg and Mark Jan Barash, who wrote this book. It's a very well-known book, published already several decades ago. And what they note in this book is that the persons who benefited from these remarkable recoveries changed completely their mind. They were almost different person after the recovery compared with before. And this is illustrates what I just told. This, as long as you change in yourself, fundamentally, the mindset that comes from the past and that caused the illness, then the illness has no need anymore and it's just disappearing, you see.
Exactly.
So we are the one who are healing us most, and the healer is only there to help us.
Yeah. Perfect. So, my dear Silvia, melting with this heat wave in London.
Yes, it's punishing. It's a punishing heat. I'd never seen anything like it. It was like in the mid of Rio de Janeiro today. It was really hot.
Yeah.
And it's still very hot now. I just think that Elsa said she was going to give an example later, but I think she should give the example now.
I can.
I
Yes,
think
was the year, I think it was the year 1993. so many years ago, my goodness, almost 30 years ago. Me and more 1,000 people inside the theater, the huge theater, one of the biggest one for the Latin America that is in Curitiba, Teatro Guaíra, Guaíra Theater. And Divaldo was talking this theater, okay? Divaldo was there. I was in the middle of 1,000 people, me and my friend. And so it was an amazing talk. I was really delighted. And the end of this talk, a lot of people went down to compliment Divaldo, and I was about to going out to take Giovanna, that was in her friend's house. Giovanna was more or less 15 years old, my daughter. And when I was leaving, me and my friend, she said before to me, Elsa, right now, while people were concentrated in Divaldo's talk, a lot of spirits were performing small operations in people's body, physical body. My goodness, was wonderful, blah, blah, blah. So when I went up the stairs to going outside, I heard another people that were mediums, related to what said Guilherme here. These other mediums was saying the same, talking to each other. We don't know everybody, 1,000 people, but they're talking the same. A lot of spirits were performing cures in people's head or body during this talk. So, related to natural laws, of course, and magnetism and the power of healing, etc., accordingly, law of cause and effect, inside the natural laws, we are subjected to receive this power that Charlie said is our mind, ourselves that can do it, accordingly what syntony, what level of thoughts we are connected with kind of spirits. So we can receive, even in our gospel in the home, can be performed, inverted commas, miracles. Because, oh my God, I almost died and I am now alive. Thanks God for that. It's a miracle. Suppose that you were not time to die at this moment. So for you, for me, for others, is a miracle. But everything under the divine laws are perfect. But we should be kept our mind focusing in goodness, charity, good thoughts, positive thoughts, doing good, serving as a disciples of Jesus, serving others. God help others, help men, women, through man and woman. So I think, did I explain correctly, Silvia? Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. And we have a follow-up relating to Camille's question. He's saying here, as a follow-up to my question, if spirit has a knowledge of how miracles work, can it not work if God is not willing for it to work? So, once the knowledge is known, is there free will to perform it? For example, healing mediums do not always heal. Charles, you're on mute, my friend.
Yes, there are examples even. When you read the Gospel according to Spiritism, there is one part you have a communication of Vianney, which was curé d'Ars, from the city of Ars in France. And he has been called in a mediumistic group in order to help a young lady which was blind. And he explained to this lady that if the lady would know the reason of her blindness, she would not ask to be cured of this blindness. And indeed, he did not cure the blindness of this lady. So that's a very clear example. Why? Because it was better for this young lady to stay blind than to recover the sight and fall into the same mistakes as before, making the situation even worse. And there is another example of a person who was with a cancer and how to say, progressing, advanced stage, terminal stage. And albeit all the efforts she made, all the spiritual healing, Bezerra de Menezes or whatever, the person died. And when this person arrived on the spiritual world, she was received there by her mentor, and her mentor told, you see, your cancer healed you. So in some way, the cancer was a way to heal the perispirit, draining some difficulties or wrong fluids or whatever into the physical body. Because dying also for Spiritism is the soul is freeing from the body. We are here in the body, it's like a prison. And dying is not this what's the image we have that is terrible, we are all in black and crying and whatever. No, dying is simply our spirit, our soul is freeing from the physical body, and we'll have opportunity to reincarnate in a brand new baby body. So all this negative vision of the death is disappearing with the spiritual teachings.
Great. Great. So, my dear Silvia, this is kind of connection with Guilherme's question, but what is the miracle values for Spiritism? And can we all perform these miracles?
Well, I think how it was, is being explained at the nauseam now. There is no miracles as such. I think I would like to actually explain here. In the Oxford Dictionary, it says, what is a miracle? And it defines miracles as an event so remarkable that is attributed to a supernatural agency, but is also a remarkable occurrence, a miraculous thing, or something wonderful. And I think this is more or less close, I think the last two items here, to what miracles was originally understood by. And I think in Genesis, he does explain that. And I think we've now completely lost our understanding of the true meaning of miracles. I think Charles explained it quite well in many of the examples he gave. I think, we, in many ways, we think miracles when something goes the way we want it to go. But I think not everything that we want is what we need. And I think the two examples that Charles gave about that in the gospel, and also, I mean, many, many times in life and everything, we think that you want a person, say, to be healed, and they go for healing, but they're also treated, and yet the person still dies. And everybody think, oh, God was not good because he didn't help that person. We prayed and prayed. And this has been a source of people who actually becoming unbelievers because God didn't help them, didn't treat them. And I think, one of the things that Spiritism actually explained to us is that sometimes not having been answered what we wanted is what we needed. The person needed to die. I think the example that Charles gave was really good about that person. Are you being healed? Your cancer healed you. And it's sometimes beyond what we can understand because we are very, in our understanding of life, is very limited. We want things, we understand, we only see it as a miracle if the person has actually been cured. But sometimes that person needed to go to that death, they may have asked for that themselves, to go through that experience, and it's part of the process of the experience of that incarnation for them. So because they want to clear things from the past, or maybe not even that, they just want to go through an experience that will enrich their knowledge and experience as a spirit. And I think we need, what he says as an example, something wonderful. It is something wonderful. But I think also we need to understand nothing, absolutely nothing happens without God's permission. We cannot, otherwise we would have the same power as God. Because I think to understand is that God can see, if you put in a very prosaic kind of example, God can see 306 degrees and we can only see maybe 180. So there are times that we can just see that part and we think, oh, the solution can be found there. But God can see the whole thing. And it is happening, something is happening in a way that goes against, what we think. And it is interesting, I was thinking about this just the other day, because there's been a series on the telly, actually was made in Brazil, about a wonderful woman called Rossi Guimarães, that she saved a lot of Jewish people during the war. And her name is now in the Vash Hashem in Jerusalem as one of the righteous of nation, because she saved a lot of lives. And it's interesting how you see. I was thinking about, why should this happen? Why should it be like this? What is causing people to behave in such an evil way? And then I sort of, I don't know, it's just like an answer came to me, that it's a part of a process that humanity have to go through. And yet, and as terrible and as horrible as it is, many of the people who are going through those experiences have actually asked for that, had actually wanted to have that experience, or they were there in that situation to help people around them that was so in great need than they did. And it's a kind of thing that we think, how can God allow these things to happen? And we continue asking these questions, now when we see wars and so many things that are happening in the world. And people sometimes become very despondent because they think God's not watching over us. These terrible things are happening. These horrible people always get away with things, but it's not. It's far beyond what we can understand. And I think that's the miracle, really, is to be able to see something beyond, because if God is allowing it to happen, because there is a purpose, everything there is a purpose. Like they say in Ecclesiastes, there is a time and a season for every purpose under the heaven. And for us, that we have very limited knowledge, very limited faith, when we see something so atrocious and so horrible, we think, we see a friend who died, or a disease that in a year, we all question. But, I personally begin to feel now, give it to God's hands. One day I will understand something that I cannot now. And constantly, we hear stories that at the first, oh my God, you have to do this and have to do that. And then, no, just stand back, forgive. It's not even your problem. You're not involved in it. If the person did that, they need prayer, because that's what someone who does something horrible needs more prayer than maybe somebody that's really good, because they're greater need there. And I think that's the miracle. It's the miracle of discovering in ourselves a deeper faith, a deeper trust in God, that no matter what it passes, what is happening, everything passes. Everything must pass, and tomorrow there'll be another understanding. Because also in the question of miracles, as we've been saying before, a lot of those are natural laws. And they happen in a way. And I think the question that Camille put, if God doesn't allow it, it's just because there are certain laws that cannot be broken. And we cannot explain quite a lot of the healings and a lot of things because we don't have the understanding of that. But one day we will understand. I think there's so many things now. Just think in terms of the silly thing, like a mobile phone, for instance, okay? 20, 30 years ago, if you have a phone, I was watching a film the other day, and the man had a mobile phone. He must weigh about 2 kilos, and he had these aerials 2 meters long. And then soon it became one, but you still have aerials. Now we have mobile phones with high technology, and it's a miracle. We don't need aerials, we don't need anything. When I came to England, if you wanted to speak to Brazil, you would have to go to the operator, ask her for a trunk call, and then suddenly, sometime later, you could just dial, and now we just talk, live freely. And this is all what is a miracle, isn't it? But it isn't. It's just because the technology is growing, we're learning more. And when we think about how you have more technology in our mobile phones now than NASA had to send a man to the moon. I went to this exhibition of the Sputnik, and Yuri Gagarin, he actually had to do the calculations himself to find the place where he had to land his Sputnik. And he had a plastic globe that he had to go around and doing the calculation he could come down. And I mean, for us now, this is absolutely impossible. But that was the technology now. And now what we have is completely different. And I think that's when we're going to learn that miracles, not see something that is outside of the laws of nature, is outside of everything, but is we can be able to explain how naturally this is happening. And you take time, and we will do eventually. But, I think the miracle is to see what is extraordinary and be grateful to God that we're going through that, or we're seeing something special, and to increase our faith and trust that whatever is going on, no matter how hard it is for our own understanding and for our own spirit. Sorry, I think I took too much in the end. Thank you.
No, it's beautiful. This is evolution. This is evolution. Yeah.
Very well said, Silvia. Someone wrote here. Camille. Very well said, Silvia. Exactly.
My dear Elsa, last questions for yourself. How to live our life without expecting for a miracle?
Oh my God. Stevan, I heard a lot of things using the word miracles. Someone said to me, Elsa, you earn money less than me per month, your wages, in order to survive, to pay your rent, your everything, maintenance of life. I earn double of you, and you do miracles with your money. You help people, you maintain yourself, you have a healthy life, etc., etc., etc. Of course, it's not a miracle. It's the way that I use my money. The right place, right time, for right reasons. So it's not a miracle, but other people's mind could be. And others said, "Oh, God could do a miracle and help me to win the lottery. So buy lottery and pray." I know someone, and Silvia knows as well, that does the same. But God doesn't perform miracles towards money, towards this kind of things, if it's not in your way to have these kind of things to test you. That the rich people is a test to be rich. The poor poverty is a test to be poor. But in our life, we don't expect miracles every day. Life it's a miracle. Living, it's a miracle. Breathing, it's a miracle. There are a lot of people that has no way to breathe without machine. And they said, oh, I will give everything in order to God to perform a miracle and help me to breathe without this machine. But there's a lot of things. Other people using other kind of machine to renew the blood in the physical body. There's a lot of things that we should say could be a miracle, but we don't expect this miracle every day. We should live our life in a better way, in a simple way, in relatively doing good to others when it's possible, doing good to our beloved ones near us, our nearest person in our life, as the Samaritan teach us. And this is a miracle. Love, live a better life, be charitable. We can say sometimes is a miracle because we are doing something that a lot of people even is far from. They don't understand when you go 2 hours from your home to prepare a nice meal for someone that is ill or isolated from society, and you go there, you spend the time there. That's a miracle for people. I never could do that. It's a miracle in my life. But you can do your miracle. You can be the ones that is related to magnetize your water, magnetize your son or daughter that are ill. You can do that. And the benefactors will multiply your energy and your potential to heal, to help others. Or if not a cure, but diminishes the pain, the anxiety, and other things. We should use more our inner power, that we have this inner power to do our own miracles, if you can say miracles, because as we read in Heaven and Hell, the Medium's book, and other books, even the questions from the Spirit's book, miracles, according to Spiritism, is only related to divine laws, to the law of cause and effect, to things that should be, but it's not something supernatural that doesn't exist and we cannot see. We can say that's not a miracle, but we relate it to a miracle. But everything is under God's law. So we can do our miracles every day, living a better life, in believing with our faith, our hope in better days. Not only asking, miracle, miracle, please, 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 but I am not a good person. I always be rude with other people, not to be charitable, not to be a good neighbor, and ask, tercerize our wishes. We can do that. We can move ourselves first.
Yeah. Question 621 for the Spirit's book. Know yourself.
Yeah.
Yes, great. Great. We still have a little bit time.
I think just one point to just,
Sure.
that I want to, from what Elsa was saying, and for what Charles said, I think actually Charles did say that. But I think one of the interesting things for me that in all the work that Jesus did, the miracles and everything, he never said, and he always say, your faith has cured you. Your faith has healed you. And in that story, I don't know if it's Bartimaeus, that he was a blind man, and they asked him that Jesus cure him. But it's interesting because in the gospel, they tell that Jesus actually got a piece of the soil, he spit on it and put in his eyes. Remember that one? He created that thing and put in his eyes, and then asked them for him to go and wash the eyes of this man in that fountain that was there. And then the apostle said, Master, was it because of his parents' sin, or did he sin? And then Jesus said, no, this is to show, is no sin there, it's just to show the power of God. And so it's our own, and if a person is not healed, it's because maybe they could, no, maybe they didn't really want to, as well, I think, because it's always we ourselves who heal ourselves. We believe that someone can help us. So I think that's very important, because it just never said, I healed you, I cured you. He said, your faith has cured you. That's important, I think, in thinking about miracles.
Yeah, yeah. And the last question is from Guilherme. He's asking here, can we all perform these miracles? So, Charles?
I would say yes and no, because one of the example was also that Jesus managed to liberate possessed people, but his apostles once tried without him and didn't manage. Okay, so they couldn't. And then they came back to Jesus and told him, hey, why can you do these things and we cannot do the same things? And Jesus answered them, it's because you don't have faith. If you would have faith the size of a seed of mustard, what is the name in English?
Mustard.
Mustard seed.
You could ask this mountain to remove from here and go to another place, and it would happen. So it's a question of, you see, Jesus, he had these faculties, he had these strengths, and so it's somehow a characteristic of a certain degree of evolution of spirits. So that's why I think low evolved spirits, of course, are not managing to do the so-called miracles or falsely called miracles or abnormal events as Jesus did, of course. But we have the potential to get there. Again, there is a law of evolution. We will evolve. And all of us, even the worst on earth today, will one day reach the level of evolution that was the one of Jesus when he came here on earth 2,000 years ago. For me, it will take a long, long, long time, but I will get there. So everyone will get there. So that's why the answer would be not yet, maybe not yet.
I have quickly, Stevan and Charles,
Yeah, please.
an example that happened with me in May. I was more or less 2 years walking with difficulty with my left leg, with a pain in my left leg, in the I think in the rib, no? And I went to the orthopedic doctor, orthopedic doctor, no? So the doctor examined and touching, make a lot of movement with my leg. He asked me to do a scan. So I did. That was a problem with the bones in my scan. But after almost immediately after doing this consultation with this doctor, the pain disappeared. I noticed that I was walking properly without making a little bit movement.
Mumbling.
Huh?
Without mumbling.
Yes, exactly. And I wrote it to the doctor. I said, doctor, believe me, after the consultation, the pain is gone and I am walking properly, although I have this, of course, problem with the bones, etc. And I said to him, you should be a healer in a Spiritism center or other places. And he replied me later, I am a healer. So you see, until now, since May, June, July, I'm not mumbling to walk and not a pain. Still, the problem is there. I have to operate in 4 or 5 years, said the doctor here. But it's not the problem now to walk. Where's the pain gone? What's happened? It's a miracle? Give the question mark in the air.
Be
Thank you.
grateful, whatever it is.
Exactly. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go to our announcements here. And let me share my screen. So next week, occupations and missions of spirits, and we will have a special guest, our friend Munir Gariba. He's gonna be with us next Wednesday, 9 p.m. Also, every other Tuesday, conversations on mediumship with Rafael Caldas and Guilherme Dias. Every Saturday, 10:30, we still have our online course about the mediums book, so anyone is more than invited to attend these. Also, on Tuesdays, study of the book No Solar. If you need more information, you can go to Spiritism Society of London Facebook page, and there you can enroll and be part of the group. Every Wednesday, Munir have a show at 4 p.m. London time, Coffee with Kardec. So it's a wonderful show, 4 o'clock every single Wednesday. And last but not least, we're asking your help to help two entities in Brazil. One is Grupo Sheila, the other one is Instituto Mutirão. Please go to www.kardec.org.uk/high five, and please help us to support them. And this is it for us today. I want to say thank you, everyone. I was on holiday the past two programs. I'm back, recovered. So thank you for the amazing job Elsa, Charles, and Silvia did conducting the show. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
See you next
Bless
week,
you
guys.
all.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
See you next
Bye.
week.
Au
Wonderful.
revoir.
Bye. Have a good week. God bless. Bye.